Overwatch suggestions. Leave yours in the comments. Let's go through them for this week. Suggestion, do flipped escorts. You start on the defender spawn and get to the other side of the map. Okay, so I remember this one. There's something similarly asked about like a mirrored version of the map from a couple of weeks ago, and I misunderstood it because the comments were like, yo, KarQ, I think you misunderstood. They want, you know, exactly what you're suggesting, excuse me, because a few weeks ago I thought you meant like they're mirrored horizontally. So you know when you like go up Hollywood and you like wrap around right to left, I thought they meant mirrored like left to right. But in any case, you know, flipping defender and attacker spawn, I'm down for that. I think that would be a very fun arcade or like April Fool's mode where the payload moves in reverse. Is that possible? Probably. Just needs a little bit of resources, and yeah, I like it. Suggestion, bring back Lifeweaver's passive, the parting gift, if you don't know, exactly to how it was. Dying and almost fully healing your teammate or letting an enemy heal less than half health was a great concept, but people complaining about it, along with a majority of people hating how clunky his original controls were, caused the devs to remove it. Plus, with the HP buffs, it isn't as strong as it was in Season 4. In my opinion, it was a creative idea that should have stayed. So, for those who don't know, when Lifeweaver was released, if you killed Lifeweaver, he had a passive ability called Parting Gift that it would drop a 100 or 150 HP health pack on his body. Now, the problem is actually less about the controls, in my opinion. It was just like a free heal for flankers. If a Tracer assassinated a Lifeweaver, she got rewarded by picking up his Parting Gift and going back to full health to continue dominating. So I actually think the idea is pretty cool, and all they needed to do was allow your teammates to pick it up and enemies unable to pick it up, and that would have been a fine solution. Thoughts? In any case, I like the suggestion. Bring it back, but just don't allow enemies to pick it up. That's it. Leave a nice little gift for your teammates. It's called a parting gift. Friendly gift. Not an who gives gifts to their enemies? Not me. They need to change the practice range bots to have hitboxes more similar to hero hitboxes. The bots have such huge head hitboxes, it doesn't even feel worth practicing on them. Yo, actually a great suggestion. I agree with this. The hitbox of those training bots are incredibly big. You can spawn a couple of heroes in that little section, right, on the side at the beginning of the training range, but they're stationary. And I do think having like a very baseline average player model hitbox instead of bots would actually be a fantastic idea. I think the closest one I can think of that seems to be, you know, a good relative medium humanoid height is probably maybe Soldier 76's body, and then they can do a generic tank body shape, which is a little more hitbox volume, and then something a little bit smaller for supports on average. Good idea. Suggestion, give Hanzos Arrows a trail like Widowmaker. In my opinion, all one-shots should have that. Well, my friend, Hanzos Arrow is technically not a one-shot on most of the hero roster. Still a one-shot depending on who you're shooting, like a Baby Diva or Tracer or Widowmaker or whatever. But I would say no to this because Widowmaker's trail kind of makes sense because it's a bullet, you know, moving at an incredible velocity and, you know, leaving a little trail wind. But a little arrow, I don't think it can bend enough air to see a visible trail. Maybe in like anime and stuff, but like maybe if you slow down like a slow-mo cam of an arrow in real life, does it bend air? Doesn't seem like it, but the velocity of an actual bullet goes way faster than an arrow. So, I mean, obviously this game isn't realistic one-to-one, but I think you can keep it for Widow, but we don't need it for Hanzo at all. Suggestion, create a space where players can make maps for their own use. Then the balanced and or popular ones can be put into the main rotation. I mean, this isn't the first time that it's been suggested, like a map maker, a map editor. If you're a Halo 3 player, you know, Forge, Foundry, that shit was awesome because you were able to make a couple of maps, fuse some boxes together, and then 2 of those maps got rolled into the MLG circuit, if I remember correctly, when I was a kid. So that was awesome for its time. But, you know, it's not the first time someone suggested this. Of course, no one's going to say no to this. You know, everyone would want something like this. It's just a matter of how they would implement it and the resources and the time. Suggestion, allow regular skin to use mythic effects. Kind of like how if you equip a weapon skin on a mythic, like Mercy, it would keep the staff and the effects. The toggle would keep the mythic effects with the legendary skin and staff design. I mean, I think the even better suggestion is just allow interchangeable weapons depending on the skin. If you own a specific skin that has a unique weapon, allow us to equip it across other skins. Right now, the Pink Mercy has a specific Pink Mercy staff, and obviously you have the hard light weapons, and then you have soon the Mythic Rhine Hammer, I believe, right? The Mythic weapon. You definitely can equip separate weapons, but I don't think Blizzard will do something like this because it's going to cost them money, and mythic weapons and selling separate weapon skins is going to be part of their monetization model, evidently. I mean, as much as I would say yes to this, there's no way they're going to do it, unfortunately. Rain on Numbani would be a vibe. No. I don't think a lot of people like rainy maps. I remember playing some old Call of Duty 4 and rainy maps were the worst. Overcast is okay, kind of like on Blizzard World, but at least for me, I turn off like super low model details. I don't actually know if you can truly see particle and rain on Blizzard World, but I think in a competitive, you know, live action shooter, you shouldn't have too many hindering, you know, weather effects. I think they even teased like, you know, Desert Storm, Anubis and stuff like that like 2-3 years ago for Overwatch 2, which could work in PvE, but I think in PvP, like any sort of weather obstruction is a no bueno for me and no bueno for a lot of competitive players. But, you know, the rain could be a vibe on super max settings, maybe only in quick play and only in arcade. Suggestion, I think it'd be more funny to see in-game rather than a good change, but most, if not all deployables should be displaceable the way Bob is. Hooking a lamp away from the enemy team would be so funny to see. I think it would be funny if we looked at our grammar before typing sentences, please. On the topic of the suggestion, yeah, I think it would actually be quite interesting if you could actually move deployables. Yeah, hooking a turret, hooking a lamp and displacing them. Does it add another layer of complexity? Sure, because, you know, Bob is like a hero, right? You can hook and displace him because he's nanoable and he's like, you know, he acts like a person, but like, I don't know if you can wrap deployables with like the human function. I'm sure you can work around it, but if you can hook a lamp, what's to stop you from nano boosting your lamp or nano boosting your Torb turret? Maybe for a fun arcade mode, but probably not for balance. I stopped talking about it, and now we're gonna see it in the game. Hot take, I'm calling it now. Pickable passives will find their way into the core game. Passives should have never been associated with the role since character diversity exists. It makes much more sense for the player to be able to elect a passive that works with their character and playstyle. Not a hot take, they've already pretty much confirmed that the quick play hacked event in about 2 weeks, I think July 14th or 15th, I'm not sure which weekend it is. They're going to try a quick play event for that weekend where you are able to pick passives like augments, choose between 3, maybe 3, 4, something like that. I actually think this is kind of a good idea, and you know, I'll have to see it in person when I play it out and see how it actually plays in practice, but for the most part, it's a good idea because everybody's play styles on individual heroes are very different, and you can, you know, bridge the gap between some very, very distinct weaknesses to force your hero to kind of work in a lot more compositions depending on what the enemy team is picking. Now, the only question is, do you pick your passive every time you die? Like every time you respawn, are you allowed to re-choose it? Because if I pick a passive and the enemy team picks a passive and their hero, like what's this, like what if I pick the wrong one? To me, on paper, I feel like every time you go back to spawn, you should be able to change it in the spawn room and not lock yourself into it. Suggestion, allow heroes to put away their gun and enter a melee mode. It would be nice to see Hanzo cracking his fists or Symmetra creating a boxing glove out of light. So if you put your weapon away and you melee, will it do a little bit more damage? What's the other benefit of putting your weapon away? Do you move a little bit faster? I know you can run faster with your knife out in like Valorant and in like Counter-Strike and stuff like that. Apex as well, if you unequip all your weapons and run around with your fists. I actually don't hate this idea. I actually think it would be an interesting experiment to see if that's possible. Now they're gonna have to add like a hand animation for every hero, which is gonna bog down all their limited resources. But you know, the idea itself is kind of good and, you know, could be revisited in some capacity in the future, hopefully, for them to implement. Suggestion, a lot of people suggest for new stuff to be added to the workshop. But as a workshop creator myself, I think quality of life changes like allowing bigger modes or bug fixes like new heroes not working correctly with actions should be prioritized. I mean, I'm not a workshopper, so I can't really speak on your experience. I'm sure your suggestion is probably echoing a lot of the other workshoppers' sentiments, like fix a couple of the higher priority things like the bugs, quality of life stuff, bigger modes. I assume you mean like past a certain point with too much lines of code or script, it crashes the whole server load, right? I played some pretty intense workshop modes and they have like a little server load percentage at the top, and if like too many actions are happening, it crashes the whole thing. So maybe some more memory there. I'd be down for that, and then that would probably increase some of the capabilities that some workshoppers could cook up. So, you know, do that first if that's easier, and then of course add the newer big stuff as a second priority. So I mean, you're probably right on the ball. Nothing to say. Suggestion: if they want to remove invulnerability, then what if Bapist lamp work like a spirit link totem, where every half a second, the health of anybody who stands in it balances between each others. For example, 100% HP Hanzo standing with a 50% HP Bap would level each of them to 75%. Well, dude, DPS players would complain instantly that they instantly lost 25% because they're in a better position, but since their Bap put the lamp down, then they accidentally lost 25% of their health. Feels kind of weird to like not be able to opt into something like that where you lose HP for the recipient. I think a better idea is that like the Bapist player will soak some of the incoming damage or share some of the damage that somebody else who stood in it would take, if you know what I mean. So if 100% HP Bapist puts a lamp down and like the Hanzo stands in it, he takes like, I don't know, 10% less damage because the 10% less damage is offset and sent to Bapist instead. I mean, I probably wouldn't complicate it and add that into Immortality field 5 years later retroactively. I'd probably just create a brand new hero, like a future support hero or a future tank ability to do something like that with damage sharing. That idea is not new and some other games have cooked it. And I think some of them have had some good success with it too. So could be onto something. Ding! Suggestion: Bapist's Immortality field should have damage mitigation limit before it breaks. Currently, one of the most annoying parts of Bap Lamp is that it can be hidden behind corners. If you put a damage mitigation limit on the lamp, then you have a second way of destroying it. You can either shoot the lamp or pump enough damage into the hero standing in it, and then it snaps. You know, it's not a bad idea if lamp is really problematic. I don't know about you guys. I'm obviously a support player, so I have inherent bias, but I feel like lamp isn't even that bad of an ability. It's on an extremely long cooldown, like 25 seconds. And the fact that everyone's HP is cut down to like what, 10% right now? If like you lamp and you survive a diva bomb and it blows up, everybody who was standing in it is at like 50 HP, like very, very low, and they're very easy to clean up. I feel like Suzu is a bit better of an invulnerability ability compared to lamp. Because Suzu's a bit easier to just instantly do it. You stop all damage, you're going to be a little bit higher HP, actually a lot higher HP. That idea though, with like a limitation, isn't actually that bad if lamp was problematic, or if lamp was on a shorter cooldown, or if lamp didn't put people as low. It's a decent suggestion, you know. I'm okay with this. If you want to, like, if Blizzard for some reason adds another super strong invulnerability ability on another support or a tank in the future, something like that could be decent idea. Suggestion: Zarya secondary fire, not the beam one, so the projectile, should probably take less ammo to shoot, or the damage should be buffed. I think her reload is a tiny bit too long, so to only shoot 4 balls and then reload seems to offset her tempo a bit, if that makes sense. Also nerf Mauga. I don't actually think Zarya's that weak right now. Like, she's okay, a little low on the tier list, but according to, you know, you can't just cherry pick win rates, but I think averaged out, she's above 50% win rate. She's very feast or famine with the energy. The beam is definitely the priority for Zarya, to like single target beam someone down, and the secondary fire is just there for like poke in the in-between while you're closing the distance. I think 4 ammo is okay. It's always been 4 shots, 25 ammo per shot. You can actually laser a little bit in between and still get your 4 shots, right? Because you only need 1 ammo in the chamber for you to use your last one. That being said, buffing, I wouldn't buff the damage right now, but because like if she's at 100 charge, that orb or that ball does do a lot of damage, and it gets bigger with more energy, for those who don't know. But maybe having it only cost 20 ammo instead of 25 wouldn't be that bad of a suggestion, so you can get 5 shots off, but nothing too extreme. Maybe +1 more and we're at a good spot if we needed to buff Zarya. So yeah, sure. Suggestion: move the arcade modes into the unranked/quick play menu to increase awareness and participation. Is that even necessary? Do people not click the arcade mode if it's on the other section? I feel like this is a pretty marginal, negligible change, but I'm not a UI UX designer. I guess like having extra modes hidden behind a separate section would naturally stop like a very small subpopulation from ever clicking on it, but I don't know about you. Maybe it's because like I only know my own experience, but I like sometimes I do click through all the modes sometimes to see what's up, see if the arcade has a different rotation sometimes. Quick play is obviously the more opened menu, but this is a question mark for me. I'm actually not sure if that's even necessary. All right, last one. For the arcade suggestion, there should be a community spotlight game mode where each week, maybe more, maybe less, there should be a mode from the community that people enjoy added into the arcade. Or like the card can have a set amount of community modes that you randomly get while you queue up for it. I mean, I'm down. They just need people to like moderate and vet it. Because like in the workshop, community made modes, like workshoppers can like add some like, you know, maybe some unsavory text in the form of some orbs. There could be some bad actors. You just need some people at Blizzard to vet all the code and make sure nobody, like no workshopper accidentally inserted like a random penis or drew a penis on the side to just troll people because it looks bad for Blizzard. So I know that's like, it takes one person to get a little funny with it and then they'll never do it again. So they just need someone to vet it. But like, I mean, I'm down for this. And that's it for me. Thanks for listening to the suggestions box of the week. Leave more in the comments. Bye.